So every good castle needs a good castle moat, and that's just the water feature you see surrounding the castle. And it wasn't there just for looks. It was a defense mechanism. If you're an army coming in trying to attack a castle, guess what? There's a water feature in front of you. You got to get through the water to get to the castle. You can't tunnel under it because they were fairly deep. That's one of the main reasons why they would build these moats, is because enemies wanted to tunnel under and get inside the castle. Well, these things were 30 foot deep. But let's start off and talk about the two main types of moats. You got a wet moat and a dry moat. And it's pretty simple. Obviously, a wet moat had water in it, and a dry moat was dry. So wet moats is the moats we think of when we think of a castle most of the time. And they just created an extra barrier to prevent attackers from reaching the walls so easily. Like I said, they wanted to tunnel under them. You can't do that 30 feet deep. There's never been historically a person that we know of tunnel under a moat, dry or wet. So anyways, the attackers are attacking the castle here. They either have to get in a boat, make a makeshift bridge. Well, guess what? They make the moats so wide that it's not practical to make a makeshift bridge. So you got to swim, you got to get in a boat, and guess what? You got burning oil, lit a fire on top of the water to get through. There's spikes in that. The water is filled with all sorts of stuff. So on the other hand of that, you have dry moats. And they were trenches without water, but no less effective because guess what? It's a large trench. And sometimes they lined them with sharp stakes or filled with the rubble to make it even harder to cross. And what made dry moats so particularly ingenious was their use in areas where water was scarce or difficult to manage. And they served as deadly traps, and it forced attackers into confined spaces where they could be picked off by defenders from above. You know, high ground always wins back in the medieval times when you was dealing with castles. But some dry moats even contain animals like bears or wild dogs to further discourage attempts to cross. And you think that, oh, we can shoot these bears from atop the castle going down. Well, guess what? Somebody from on top of the castle is shooting at you. So once you take your eyes off them, you're looking at a bear. Guess what? You got an arrow in your chest. So it was super tough to get through a dry. You can't go under it either. It's maybe even deeper, 40 foot, 30 foot, 50 foot. These were deep moats, and they were designed to protect the castle. So let's go back to the bears and the dry moats for a minute. Well, first off, alligators, we see that in Hollywood in the wet moats. That's not true. Alligators were not native to Europe, and it was too cold, basically. Well, for the most part, too cold. But it's Hollywood. But like I said, there was bears in dry moats, which was pretty cool. But just think, you scale down a wall to the moat, to the bottom of the moat, you come face to face with a 1,200-pound grizzly bear. You're probably regretting your decision. So in most cases, moats were built in response to geography as defense mechanisms. And that's because a lot of castles without moats, they're perched high up on a hill, or they might even be on a cliff, a sheer cliff on the ocean. So they got a lot of natural protection. But the castles built in flatlands or in open areas relied heavily on moats for protection because they lacked these natural defenses that I just spoke of, like a hillside or a cliff edge. So flatland castles didn't have these luxuries, so they compensated with wide, imposing moats to make up for their vulnerability. In some cases, moats were used to create these artificial islands. You see the pictures of just an island of a castle. And this design just isolated the castle entirely. And it made it even harder for attackers to approach without being seen and exposed. You know, if you're exposed, guess what? The bells are ringing. You get arrows flying at you. All right, so another interesting fact about a moat was most of the time, if you had a moat and you had the bathrooms you use right here, you see it right here, that just dropped down into the moat. And if you had a stagnant moat, it's going to be smelling terrible. But a lot of times they did connect it to rivers and kept fresh water in and out, or they would have had some other problems with diseases. Mosquitoes would have been bad. I'm sure mosquitoes were bad anyways, but you would have had all kinds of problems if it was just stagnant water, which some were. But guys, I've spoke a lot today, and I just want to say thank you all for tuning in about castle moats. I got a lot of cool videos. They're mostly shorts about castles and other odd history. But I want to thank you all. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Share this with your friends, family, whoever. But thank you all.